Hey everyone, welcome back. And this is project number 2 for Engineering Technology 497. This is the first video of project number 2. We're continuing setting up Windows servers, but this time we're going to add some services to our servers. So we're going to add a web server so that you can host your own websites. And we're also going to add an FTP server. FTP servers are file transfer protocol servers. And FTP allows you to basically share large files across the network with people all over the world. And it's mostly unsecure, so whatever you share through FTP, make sure that it's not things that need to be secure. There are other protocols like SFTP, right, which is secure FTP. There's another one called WebDAV. There's a whole bunch of protocols, but the Microsoft server includes these roles that you can activate. So we'll install a web server, we'll create a website, we'll host it, and then we will view it on our Windows 10 virtual machine, right? So that we can see that we're actually accessing a website across the network. We'll install the FTP, we'll put some files in there, and then we'll see if after we install an FTP client on the Windows 10 VM, if we can access that file. So just doing a little correction here. And then the third thing we're going to do, we're going to install a tool called Wireshark. And Wireshark is a product used to sniff packets. So in other words, you can see with this software, allows you to see what's going on the network. Networks are really noisy systems. You have so many packets going back and forth in those systems. And so they're really noisy, but there's a really neat way to basically access these networks and see what's going on. And if it's not encrypted, you can actually see passwords going through the network, websites, text, whatever it is, if it's not encrypted. This is what happens when you go to a website. This is what happened to those packets using the TCP/IP
begin
protocol.
your journey into
Check this out.
the net. Now, exactly what happened when you clicked on that link? You started a flow of information. This information travels down into your own personal mailroom, where Mr. IP packages it, labels it, and sends it on its way. Each packet is limited in its size. The mailroom must decide how to divide the information and how to package it. Now, the package needs a label containing important information such as sender's address, receiver's address, and the type of packet it is. Because this particular packet is going out onto the internet, it also gets an address for the proxy server, which has a special function, as we'll see later. The packet is now launched onto your local area network, or LAN. This network is used to connect all the local computers, routers, printers, etc. for information exchange within the physical walls of the building. The LAN is a pretty uncontrolled place, and unfortunately, accidents can happen. The highway of the LAN is packed with all types of information. These are IP packets, Novell packets, Apple Talk packets. They're going against traffic, as usual. The local router reads the address and, if necessary, lifts the packet onto another network. The router, a symbol of control in a seemingly disorganized world.
Whoops, sorry about that. Oh, let's go this one here, this one here. Oh, this one's here, this one goes here. I don't like this one. Let's go with this one. Let's go here. Oh, this left. Let's go with this one here. Another channel here. Let's put that one here. No, let's put that one here.
There he is, systematic, uncaring, methodical, conservative, and sometimes not quite up to speed.
Sorry.
But at least he is exact, for the most part.
There. That one was there. That one was there. That one was there. And this one was there. Oh, another one that was there. That was there. He's fine. That one was there. That was there. He was there. Oh, was there.
As the packets leave the router, they make their way into the corporate intranet and head for the router switch. A bit more efficient than the router switch plays fast and loose with IP packets, deftly routing them along their way. A digital pinball wizard, if you will.
Here we go. Here comes another one. And it's another one. Watch this, Mom. Here goes. Whoop, we're on the back. Hey, in there, in there, in there. Over the left, over the right, over the left, over the right. You got it. Here it comes. Right on. He shoots. He scores. It's going. Hey, wait. Hey, watch out. Here comes another one. Oh, here we go. And it's gone.
As packets arrive at their destination, they're picked up by the network interface, ready to be sent to the next level. In this case, the proxy. The proxy is used by many companies as sort of a middleman in order to lessen the load on their internet connection, and for security reasons as well. As you can see, the packets are all of various sizes, depending upon their content. The proxy opens the packet and looks for the web address, or URL. Depending upon whether the address is acceptable, the packet is sent on to the internet. There are, however, some addresses which do not meet with the approval of the proxy, that is to say, corporate or management guidelines. These are summarily dealt with. We'll have none of that. For those who make it, it's on the road again. Next up, the firewall. The corporate firewall serves two purposes. It prevents some rather nasty things from the internet from coming into the intranet, and it can also prevent sensitive corporate information from being sent out onto the internet. Once through the firewall, a router picks up the packet and places it onto a much narrower road, or bandwidth, as we say. Obviously, the road is not broad enough to take them all. Now you might wonder what happens to all those packets which don't make it along the way. Well, when Mr. IP doesn't receive an acknowledgement that a packet has been received in due time, he simply sends a replacement packet. We are now ready to enter the world of the Internet. A spider web of interconnected networks which span our entire globe. Here, routers and switches establish links between networks. Now, the net is an entirely different environment than you'll find within the protected walls of your LAN. Out here, it's the Wild West. Plenty of space, plenty of opportunities, plenty of things to explore and places to go. Thanks to very little control and regulation, new ideas find fertile soil to push the envelope of their possibilities. But because of this freedom, certain dangers also lurk. You'll never know when you'll meet the dreaded ping of death. A special version of a normal request ping, which some idiot thought up to mess up unsuspecting hosts. The paths our packets take may be via satellite, telephone lines, wireless, or even transoceanic cable. They don't always take the fastest or shortest routes possible, but they will get there. Eventually. Maybe that's why it's sometimes called the worldwide wait. But when everything is working smoothly, you can circumvent the globe 5 times over at the drop of a hat. Literally. And all for the cost of a local call or less. Near the end of our destination, we'll find another firewall. Depending upon your perspective as a data packet, the firewall could be a bastion of security or a dreaded adversary. It all depends on which side you're on and what your intentions are.
So port 80 is used by the web server. So the web server communicates over port 80.
Port 25 is used for mail packets, while port 80 is the entrance for packets from the internet to the web server. The firewall is designed to let in only those packets that meet its criteria. This firewall is operating on ports 80 and 25. All attempts to enter through other ports are closed for business. Port 25 is used for mail packets, while port 80 is the entrance for packets from the internet to the web server. Inside the firewall, packets are screened more thoroughly. Some packets make it easily through customs, while others look just a bit dubious. Now, the firewall officer is not easily fooled, such as when this ping of death packet tries to disguise itself as a normal ping packet.
It's okay, go on. It's okay. No problem. Have a nice day. Be out of here. Bye.
For those packets lucky enough to make it this far, the journey is almost over. It's just a lineup on the interface to be taken up into the web server. Nowadays, a web server can run on many things, from a mainframe to a webcam to the computer on your desk. Or why not your refrigerator? With a proper setup, you can find out if you have the makings for chicken cacciatore or if you have to go shopping. Remember, this is the dawn of the net. Almost anything's possible. One by one, the packets are received, opened, and unpacked. The information they contain, that is, your request for information, is sent on to the web server application. The packet itself is recycled, ready to be used again, and filled with your requested information. Addressed and sent out on its way back to you. Back past the firewall, routers, and on through to the internet.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that little 1990s animation, which is a really good one actually. All right, so what we do now, we come back to the server, we go to tools, and let's say, it looks like we do not have the FTP or web server in here yet. So what we're gonna do is we're going to manage, add roles and features. Click next, role based, next, and over here we have a whole bunch of services. We have a web server, okay, and you can see that there's a few management tools that come with it as well. So we can say add features. And that will give us the web server for IIS. We click next. And let's see if there's anything else here that we like. I think this is all we need. Click next, next. And what else? The web server has a whole bunch of things, so let's select down here the FTP server. Okay, so now we can have FTP is part of the web services, so it's all in there. And I think that's all you need, just the FTP server with the FTP service. There's a whole bunch of other tools that are pretty neat that are used with different companies. So like WebDAV, it's another HTTP service where you can store files. Okay, so we'll do next. And we're going to restart the server automatically if it needs to. And this is just going to go through the process. It shouldn't take that long to install. It's a pretty small package installation. Click close. And one of the things I'm going to do is check this flag. It says installation succeeded. It looks like I do not have to reboot the server. Let's look at DNS real quick. Go to Tools, DNS. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to add a zone. So you go to your server here, your forward lookup zones server, and we're going to add a host. So right now we have one host called server 1, and we have a host called Windows 10, so it's memorizing the IP address compared to the host name. But let's add a website host name. So right click right over here and say new host, and why don't you call it sales. So the website, this is the FQND, which is the fully qualified domain name. So if I go to a website that's called like this, I will be able to go straight to the website where I store the web page on. So our IP address for the server 192.168.1.100. Okay, and let's add the host. Okay, so the host was added successfully, and it's sales.walter.com. Click close, and you can see it over here. Oops. Okay, let me copy that. Alright, so we have basically a pointer or a little shortcut to that sales website that I'm going to create pretty soon. We have a shortcut to our Windows 10 machine, which is 192.168.1.100, right? And the server is that one. So you can create a whole bunch of shortcuts or pointers to name that go to a particular IP address. Alright, so we got our DNS server. Okay, by default, server 1 is the name of this machine. And let's see if there is a website in there. Don't show me this again. Yes. Okay, good. So our web server is up and running. You can see that it says right here, Internet Information Services. Okay, this is a sample website, and depending on the server, sometimes they use default.html or index.html. If you go here to the Windows Explorer and we go to our C drive on the server, still on the server, there's this folder called inetpub, and this Internet Publishing folder. This is what's hosting the website, this website. So let's take a look at it and let's see what it's called. So Internet Publisher, go to the www root. See, there's also an FTP root. Okay, it's called iisstart.html. And the PNG, those are the graphics that you see. So if I go iisstart.html, that's the website name. Except that, you know, sometimes they hide it so you don't need to see it. So that. All right, so now let's create a new folder over here, and I'm going to call that sales, and I'm going to copy that particular page, paste. I'm also going to copy the graphic, paste, and you can edit the website here. Let's go. So we got it open with Notepad, so you can click on it, open with Notepad, and this is HTML code, and this code basically looks at the it's looking for the graphic that we have down there. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to create your own web page, but also refer to the graphic, to any graphic that you like, the school graphic, a photo of you if you like. But let's look at an example here. Let's look at an example of a simple page. So here's a simple web page. We're gonna have to just type it in real quick. So let's look at this real quick here. We got our plain code. All right, I'm gonna pause and type this in. Okay, but it's gonna be basically what you see on that other screen. Okay, so I typed in some HTML code, and it basically consists of certain tags that you have along the way. So like you know, you tell it that it's a document type HTML, this is the body, and you open the body, and then you close the body, right? So everything is open and close. We open HTML, we close HTML. We open the header, we close the header. We open this first paragraph, we close the paragraph. Here's a reference to our image, our little graphic that we had. So we open that, and then we close that as well. All right, so let's save this, and let's see if it works. Unless I have some kind of a spelling error in there, it may or may not work. Let's go back over here. Our server is server 1, and actually we need to go to sales. Right, so server 1 sales, and there we go. Oh yeah, see, I do have some kind of a spelling error. Hello. So this is my HTML. All right, if I correct it here, hello, save it, and I refresh my website, it should have, there you go, it's been corrected. All right, so that's the header, this is the body, and then I said in this one, hey, give me that graphic that you had in there. So that's your goal right here, is to do a website. Now, do you recall our DNS entry? Do you recall here under DNS, Tools, DNS, remember how we created a forward lookup zone under the server for sales? What was that? It was sales server1walter.com. Okay. So let's go over here and let's grab that, copy, and let's assign that to our sales website over here. Okay. Do you remember our DNS server and how we create it. If you went to tools, right, and we went to DNS here, we created that forward lookup for server 1. Let's see, we created this one, right, server 1. Let's copy that and let's see where that takes us. Right, it's going to point to this particular IP address because it's resolving that particular one to this particular IP address. So let's look at this, and looks like I already have it there. So you can see that it pointed to the website, right, the main website. Let's create a new one. Okay, so let's create one here. Another, let's see, it's a new host, and we're gonna call that one ET497. So it's gonna be et497.server1.walter.com. Okay, let's copy that. It will be the same IP, 192.168.1.100. Okay, add a host, and so now we have our ET497 host. Let's add a website here. Okay, we're gonna go to our HD Internet Information Server Manager, and by default this is that website that we have, right? But let's say I want to add a website. I right click and I say add website, and I'll call this one ET497. The physical path, let's go and grab our inet pub www root, and we created that sales folder, and that sales folder has our ET497 website. Okay, and then what would be the host name and the IP? Well, let's grab the IP of the server, and it will be this particular website. Okay, the one that we created a DNS entry for. So click OK. And so now we have our little website here, and you can just go to it. All right, so instead of sales here, if I type ET497, it takes us to our ET497 website. So you can have as many websites as you like, and this is how companies do it. They'll have like a sales one, they'll have a training website, all are under the same server. You can have as many websites as you like. All right, so this is pretty neat, right? Very, very cool stuff. All right, so let's add an FTP server. All right, so to add the FTP server, we create a folder in our server. So let's create a folder, we'll call it FTP. All right, we're going to share that folder. So just go to properties, sharing, advanced sharing, share the folder, and under permissions, make sure that you allow everyone full control. And remember our user 1 that we have in the server. Let's add the user 1 also, and let's give him access. Okay, so I added the user 1. That's part of the server. I created the folder in the server, and I'm going to put in a couple of files in there. I'll put in the text file called I don't know, just ET497, and then let's create another one, ET497B. Right, so we can put files in here. We can put pretty large files that we're going to be sharing with people across the world. Okay, so we have that. Let's go to our Internet Information Services Manager, or IIS, and let's create a site. Right click on it and say add FTP. Call it ETFTP. The physical path is that FTP folder that we just created. click next, and we can say no SSL because we're not going to do anything secure here. We'll just assign it the IP address of the server. We don't need to do virtual host. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but we're gonna go by IP address right now. We're gonna do basic authentication, and we're going to say specify users. I could have used a group and put a bunch of people in there, but I'll say specify users, read and write, and the user is user1. And that's it. We have our FTP site now, right? So all we have to do now to access those two files is we can go here and go to FTP : / the IP address of the server, put in user1, put in the password CSULB 1949, log on, and there's my two text files that I had. Right, so from here I can access, I can save them if I wanted to, right? This is the secure server. Next time you save it, you can just save those files wherever you want to. So FTP is for very, very large files. There is another way to add the network. Use it like a network drive basically. Open your file explorer and you can just type in the address right here. Okay, let's refresh it a little bit. Here you go, and you can grab those files from the server, right, and you can put them in anywhere you want to. Okay, so I made a copy on my documents folder. So the last thing I want to show you is how to access the server from your Windows 10 machine, right? Or good old Windows 10 machine. And then we're going to capture some network traffic. We're going to capture what's happening on the network using Wireshark. Okay, so stay tuned for the next video.